Throughout this trial, the 6 week trial, a lot of good thing comes out of it. As for me, who is not in the legal aspect of things, but I've learned a lot. So one of the things that comes out of this trial that I think a lot of people, especially law student or even lawyers who've probably been practicing for years, could learn so much from this trial. One of the things that I'm gonna focus on, which you're probably gonna see some part of it in another video, is the TMZ thing. And part of the TMZ thing, couple issues came up in terms of journalistic aspect of things. And this is where I'm gonna take this here in regard to the TMZ reporter, former employer, who is willing to testify. And couple things come up where TMZ wants to protect its sources, doesn't want to reveal how they got their information and things like that, how they were able to get Amber Heard tape and things like that. And also the other flip side of it, which I was somewhat aware of it, but not fully understand the full capacity of it in terms of the legal aspect of it, because I'm not a lawyer, I don't study law or anything like that, until I came across one of the lawyers who have a YouTube channel who explained the brilliance of it. Okay, so I'm not gonna show that video. I will put the link of that particular video where the lawyer explained what happened between the cross-examination between Ms. Vasquez and the former employee of TMZ. So this one, I'll put the link in the description for you guys to check it out yourself. But here I'm gonna focus on how we got to TMZ and the legal aspect of it that was raised in the court, and how TMZ was trying to prevent I think Mr. Jermaine, I think his name is, the former employee, from testifying. And the main focus here is how the second part of it is how Ms. Vasquez asked Mr. Jermaine certain question without incriminate himself to be sued by TMZ. Okay, so the question were catered in a way where Ms. Vasquez was protecting Mr. Jermaine from not being sued by TMZ. Because after I listened to that particular testimony, the cross-examination, and I was like, what was the fuss all about? I could look this up. He didn't say anything that I will not be able to find online. And then that's where my answer was, my question was answered, is to that YouTuber, the lawyer, who said this was catered in a way where Ms. Vasquez asked certain question and in a fine line, so Mr. Jermaine does not incriminate himself to be sued by TMZ. Alright, so that link of that particular video will be in the description where the lawyer is gonna describe it. But here is the part where the journalistic aspect was raised, and Miss Vasquez cross-examining Mr. Jermaine. Okay, enjoy the video, and I'm sorry you will see some part of this video in another video. Alright, so here's the video. There's all this, just a random truth teller. Yep, these are all the testimony. This guy, I forgot his name, I think he's one of those neighbors, was really, I think his testimony was very powerful. He cried that she came in and messed up everything. Okay, this is the Hicksville guy, I forgot his name. He was the former owner of the Hicksville trailer, and he was there that day or that night that Johnny Depp came, and someone who was listening to the trial, how do you say that, heard the name Hicksville around the time that he was the owner of it, and then they contacted him And then from there, they got in touch with Johnny Depp's lawyer, and that's that. And he was like, they only charged them $62. It was just a skunk that fell off the wall, and that was it. They only charged them $62. But Amber Heard claimed the whole thing was trashed. Okay, that's the TMZ here again. Again, it's because of social media. Certain things were said on the trial that was completely false, and was it TMZ was trying to block him from testifying, but the judge was like, "You're not a party in this, and he's not working for you, and you can't claim whatever. What do they call this? There's a term for it when there is journalistic." Privileges or privacy. You can't tell your source or whatever, but the guy was willing to come and testify, so the judge let him testify.
Concerned with, as far as Supreme Court Rule 314, which I would like you to talk a little bit about that as far as intervention. And I got to tell you where I'm at right now. The concern, the issue I have with the argument is intervention obviously would make you a plaintiff or defendant in the case, and it has to deal with an issue that's germane to this case, and this is a defamation case. So if you could just tailor your argument to that issue, sir.
Sure. I'm happy to address the intervention. For the record, Your Honor, Charles Tobin from the law firm of Ballard Spahr.
Yes,
here
sir.
representing TMZ, which is the publisher of news and entertainment for the celebrity and entertainment industry. And Your Honor, we're seeking to intervene simply to protect the relationship between reporters and their sources when it comes to reporting news in the public interest. As the court noted, we really don't have a dog in this hunt as far as Mr. Depp, Ms. Heard. We're really here purely on the First Amendment-based issue of reporters' privilege and reporters and their sources. Your Honor, the intervention rule, as the court is aware, allows intervention by anybody where the issue is germane to the subject matter of the proceeding. And certainly, Your Honor, the purported testimony, the proffered testimony of a former employee of TMZ who purports to be in a position to disclose confidential information learned during the operation of journalism, during his work as a journalist, is a germane issue that is being raised in this case. And Your Honor, we would point the court to the Tafts, Fletcher, Malden, and Reed versus Southern Bank and Trust case, 213 Virginia Circuit, Lexus, 253. It's a Norfolk Circuit Court decision from 2013. And there it was an interpleader action. The funds had been interpleaded into the court by two trust companies that were fighting over it. And the man who had sold his property, who had no interest in the funds themselves, intervened in the case because he was uncertain as to his liability for excess funds, which was an issue that was not directly in litigation between the two parties. It was not part of the cause of action between the two trusts fighting over the money that had been pleaded into the court. The circuit court held that certainly the rights of that man was going to be affected by the decision making in the case. He would be prejudiced if he didn't have an opportunity to intervene, and no party was in the position to assert his rights. And so similarly here, Your Honor, TMZ is a news organization. It routinely accepts information, as is common in journalism, under exchanges of promises of confidentiality. If it is not able to intervene in this action, and neither of the parties is going to be in a position to assert the reporter's privilege, it is TMZ's journalist privilege that we're talking about, then their rights are certainly going to be prejudiced.
But if the witness, in all the cases, and I reviewed the cases that you had, in those cases the witness was compelled to testify and came and was forced to testify, so there was an issue about the privilege of the witness. It's my understanding in this case this witness wants to testify and is not under subpoena.
He has been subpoenaed, Your Honor.
That's incorrect, Your Honor. He's voluntarily admitted. A subpoena from this court would not be enforceable.
Okay.
Your Honor, I have a copy of a subpoena that was entered last night compelling Mr. Tremaine to give testimony in this case. And so he is
I want
coming
to show
under
the
a
evidence.
compulsion under
Well,
subpoena.
and if he takes a stand and he asserts some sort of privilege, then that's something I will deal with at that time.
Sure, but I'm here because of the scenario where he may not assert that privilege.
Right, exactly, and that's
And it is
that's why I'm saying all your cases that you showed were the opposite, where they did assert the privilege.
Well, it is a unique situation.
Right,
where-
and I understand you might have some issues with a former employee, and you have some avenues to go deal with that.
But once he testifies and the privilege is waived, we have lost our opportunity to intervene and
I
to
understand,
intercede.
All right.
And, Your Honor, the privilege, I know, Your Honor, you said you read the case law.
I did.
Appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
But the privilege has been recognized by the Virginia Supreme Court in the Brown case and applied by the circuit courts uniformly. It is a very important underpinning of the relationship between reporters and sources and reporters and the public. Without the ability to enforce its promises by current employees or former employees, a news organization will have absolutely no control over being able to enforce its promises. And so we would ask the court to permit us to intervene and to assert the privilege that belongs to TMZ, which is the organization, after all, Your Honor, that would be responsible to the source if the privilege were waived.
All right, I understand, Mr. Tobin, your argument. I appreciate it very much. Okay, did the parties wish to be heard?
Good morning, good afternoon, Your Honor. I'd like to begin where Your Honor began. As a threshold matter, the court should deny TMZ's motion to intervene. Intervention is not appropriate for the reasons suggested in Your Honor's questions. As Your Honor is well aware, intervention is only appropriate with leave of court where a third party seeks to, quote, file a pleading to intervene as a plaintiff or as a defendant to assert any claim or defense germane to the subject matter of the proceeding, unquote. Virginia Supreme Court Rule 3:14. As Mr. Tobin, to his credit, has conceded, TMZ is not asking to file a pleading. It cannot properly categorize itself either as plaintiff nor defendant, and it seeks to assert no claim or defense germane to the subject matter of this action. Moreover, even if the privilege were applicable, which is not the case here, the testimony intended is directly relevant and would outweigh any qualified privilege. Quote, an intervener must be asserting an interest that is part of the subject matter of the litigation, unquote, Hudson versus Jarrett, 269 Virginia 24/32. Here, as Mr. Tobin stated, TMZ seeks to protect potential information solicited from a third-party witness, which is in no way a matter before this court, citing Commonwealth versus Gill, 89 Virginia Circuit 323, a 2014 case denying a motion to intervene where the intervener filed it, quote, to protect a property right, not a matter before the court, unquote. The outcome of this trial will not affect TMZ, and it does not have a sufficient interest in the subject matter of this suit to intervene. See Texas Fletcher, Maiden and Reed, PC versus Bank National Trust Co., 2013 Westlaw 5849140, granting, and this is distinguishing it, granting the motion to intervene where the intervener's liability would be affected by the outcome of the litigation. Finally, Your Honor, TMZ lacks standing to object to testimony by a third party in this action because TMZ, as Your Honor pointed out, is not being compelled to testify. TMZ's reliance on the Philip Morris case for the proposition that the privilege cannot be circumvented by seeking confidential source information from an employee is inapposite. 36 VA Circuit at 1. For one thing, as noted in that case, there is no testimonial privilege akin to that enjoyed under the Fifth Amendment, which would allow a reporter to refuse to appear before a grand jury and answer questions. And Philip Morris, as Your Honor is aware, the party issued a third-party subpoena for records to trace confidential sources. Philip Morris is inapposite here, as that case related as this case is related to witness testimony, not records. As Your Honor suggested, TMZ's quarrel, if any, is with Mr. Tremaine to the extent that he had an NDA that was enforceable, applicable, and that's not what we're hearing from Mr. Tobin. So to the extent that TMZ, which is not exactly Edward R. Murrow, Your Honor, to the extent they have a beef, as it were, a cognizable beef, it is with Mr. Tremaine. It is not with Mr. Depp, and they clearly do not have standing to assert or to intervene because they are not intervening as a party, plaintiff, or defendant. So we respectfully submit, to the extent the court disagrees, I can go into the arguments why the privilege is inapplicable, but I will reserve that.
Thank you. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I would like to weigh in from just a different perspective,
Okay.
and that is because we're trying to deal with some important issues of privilege, et cetera. But from our perspective, representing Ms. Hurd, we have issues with this witness separately, and I want to make them very clear for the record. This is somebody who should have been identified in discovery, was never. Second of all, it's not relevant whether, apparently what they're saying he's going to testify, and we have not had the opportunity to discover that, is he's going to claim that someone leaked to TMZ that Ms. Hurd was going to obtain the TRO on that Friday and also leak the video, the kitchen video with Mr. Depp being rather violent. I'm almost certain he's not going to claim it's Ms. Hurd, so I think it's never going to come in.
Let's hear him
Ms.
say
Verhoeven,
it.
I understand all that argument. Do you have any argument as to this particular motion?
No, my
Okay, well, then we can address
well,
you.
my point is, though, if you balance the prejudice versus the probative value, I don't even see how he can come in on foundation or hearsay or relevance.
That's just not part of this motion at this time. Thank you, ma'am. All right, Mr. Tobin, your motion, you get the last word, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate that the court shook your head when he made the snarky comment that this is not Edward R. Murrow. Obviously, the First Amendment applies to everybody, citizens, the New York Times, or TMZ, and this is a First Amendment-based privilege. Your Honor, the Philip Morris case is actually a very good case to answer Your Honor's question about the intervention of somebody else in order to assert the privilege. There, ABC was a defendant in the case, and it moved in order to prevent other people, the phone company.
Right. But they were already
airlines.
in the case in that particular
I understand.
matter.
There is no other
she knows
mechanism,
about
though, and so it would be an interesting procedural issue for appeal, Your Honor, whether a journalism organization or anybody else who's a First Amendment holder would be denied intervention on a constitutional-based privilege. I also, just for the record and for the merits of the case, if I understood Mr. Chu correctly, he said this is not an issue in the litigation. This does not relate to an issue in the litigation. Well, if it's not an issue in the litigation, if it's not part of a prima facie part of the defense, part of the allegations of the complaint, if it's impeachment evidence, if it's collateral to the main issues in the case, under the Brown v. Commonwealth decision under the Virginia Supreme Court, under the application of that privilege in the Philip Morris versus ABC News, it is not supposed to be compelled in this case.
Which is, again, it's not being compelled, it appears.
Well, he is appearing by subpoena, and it is a compulsory process, and he will have an obligation unless he asserts privilege under oath. But it is our privilege, Your Honor. It's not an employee, a loyal or a rogue employee's privilege to waive on behalf of its employer. This is an unusual situation.
Tell me about it.
But the answers are there in the law, and it is a First Amendment concern.
This is not the first unusual situation in this case. I can
For
tell
either
you
of
for
us,
Mr. Tobin.
for anybody here, I'm sure.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you coming in today, and I appreciate
you,
your
Your Honor.
arguments. Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. In this matter, under Virginia Rules Supreme Court 3:14, a new party may intervene as a plaintiff or defendant to assert any claim or defense germane to the subject matter of the proceeding. A new party may not intervene unless they assert some right involved in the underlying litigation. A party is not entitled to intervene merely because a byproduct of the litigation adversely impacts them, and the decision to allow intervention is within the broad discretion of the trial court. Here, the rights asserted are not germane to the trial. The central issues in this case are whether defendant defamed plaintiff and whether plaintiff defamed defendant through a theory of vicarious liability. The issue of the confidentiality of sources has not come up as in other cases cited by EHM, which is the corporation that TMZ belongs to, is under their umbrella. In Brown versus the Commonwealth, there was an attempt by the criminal defendant to subpoena institutions in order to obtain the name of the confidential source. When the author of the article was subpoenaed, she refused to identify her confidential source on the stand. And in this case, it appears that the witness is willing to state the name of the confidential source without being compelled voluntarily. Whether that breaches a non-disclosure agreement between Mr. Tremaine and EHM is not germane to this matter and can be litigated in a separate matter if EHM so chooses. And while breaches of contract must be taken seriously, and the court does, any alleged breach is not germane to the underlying litigation here. That contractual action has no bearing on this case and is thus not germane to this litigation. Therefore, I'll deny the non-party EHM Productions motion to intervene.
Thank you, Your Honor. For the record, I've known Mr. Tobin for several years. I meant no snarkiness toward him.
Well, you're just a snarky guy. Ashley, Mr.
Your Honor, I am concerned that we preserve the issue fully, and so
For the record, yes,
for the
sir.
record, and so I would ask, may I have the opportunity to object when Mr. Tremaine is question by question?
No, sir, you're not a party to this case. However, I will note for your record your objection to his complete testimony on behalf of your client.
Right, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
You have nothing to do with it.
Your microphone, Ms. Burke.
As with the Hicksville witness, Your Honor, I would ask that we could voir dire him before the jury to find out when he contacted counsel and when they became aware of it. And I think also, under the circumstances, in fairness, I think we should at least be able to ask him what he's going to claim.
No.
Response.
Your Honor, I don't think that's appropriate. Certainly, I don't think a proffer is necessary or appropriate in this case.
I'm not going to do a proffer in this matter, okay? All right. Mr. Ruttenberg, I
Sorry.
was almost at lunch.
I know, I'm so sorry. But I truly am the messenger here, because Mr. Murphy just informed me that he has to just clarify one thing
Give me
about...
just one clarification.
Okay, all right,
You
okay.
made her good.
That's fine. I think we need Ms. Myers.
The judge is like, she wants to go and eat. The judge was like, all right. So she made the ruling. TMZ's, the video is gonna be shown. The witness is gonna come and say, where did they get the video? Okay. So so if TMZ has a problem, now TMZ have to sue the person who's being testified. So this has nothing to do with the case. That's the way I got it. Okay. Again, I am not a legal expert. Just my humble opinion. Plenty of lawyers, young lawyers, go check them out. They'll give you the technicality of this. All right, so that's that.
You solemnly swear or affirm to testify truthfully in this case in the penalty of law.
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mr. Tremaine.
Hello?
Would you please state your full name for the record?
Morgan Cliff Tremaine.
And what do you do for a living?
I produce esports events and design video games.
And in 2016, what did you do for a living?
I worked as the field assignment manager at TMZ.
Ooh, the TMZ
What
guy.
is TMZ?
TMZ is an entertainment news website and television show.
And what were your responsibilities as a field assignment manager for TMZ?
I was the go-between the news desk in the office and the reporters in the field, which you might know as paparazzi.
Approximately how many paparazzis were you in charge of?
At the time, it was about 20 in LA, a handful, maybe 3 in New York, and then 1 in DC.
And what were your responsibilities specifically as to the paparazzi?
It would be to dispatch paparazzi to various locations based on tips or just direction dictated by having a list of sort of hotspots where celebrities would be.
And how were those tips received?
They were received either through tips that we received through our tip line or directly through news producers in the office.
And were tips frequently received directly from sources?
Very often the case, yeah.
And who were the type of sources that TMZ received tips from?
They would receive tips from, oftentimes it would be publicists, managers, agents, or B-list celebrities.
Lawyers?
And lawyers, definitely.
How are tips verified?
Tips are verified by an extensive process. If they come in through our tip line, we have to verify who sent it, that the source is truthful, and so they have to add their contact information, which is a field in that on that website for like name, phone number, things like that.
And how long did that process typically take?
If we receive a tip through the tip line, it could take a while because that would need to be, if it was a tip, we would need to verify it. If it was media, such as photos or videos, that would need to be extensively verified to ensure that the person sending it is the copyright holder and that we would have the legal ability to air it and distribute it.
And while working for TMZ, were you involved in any assignments related to Ms. Heard?
I was.
What was the first time you recall working on an assignment related to Ms. Heard?
I believe it was May 27th, 2016.
And what was your role in that assignment?
For that, Ms. Heard was filing a restraining order at a courthouse in downtown Los Angeles. So I dispatched camera people to that location.
Under what circumstances would you normally send paparazzi to a courthouse?
Only if we had been informed prior. It's not by any means a celebrity hotspot. We would only ever send people there if we had been tipped off that something was occurring and there was somebody present there.
And what footage was TMZ trying to capture at the LA courthouse on May 27th, 2016?
We were trying to capture Amber leaving the courthouse and an alleged bruise on the right side of her face.
What was your team of paparazzi supposed to do while they were at the LA courthouse on May 27th, 2016?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay and foundation.
What were they supposed to do?
Right. She's asking for, I don't think there's a foundation or
I'll
hearsay.
overrule the objection at this point. I'll see.
Go ahead, Mr. Tremaine.
Can you state the question again?
What was your team of paparazzi supposed to do while they were at the Los Angeles courthouse on May 27th, 2016?
Their objective was to capture her leaving the courthouse, and then she was going to sort of stop and turn towards the camera to display the bruise on the right side of her face, the alleged bruise.
Did your team of videographers get the shot of Amber Heard?
We did.
Whoa.
What is the difference between receiving a tip from a news producer and any other source?
If it's any other source, it would have to be verified by copyright. If it was anything that was received directly through a news producer, then they go through that process to verify the source.
Did you do anything to verify the tip on May 27th, 2016 related to Amber Heard?
I did not,
Why not?
because it had come directly from a news producer.
Does that mean it had been verified?
It means that they had verified that tip and deemed that it was credible, and therefore a camera person needed to be dispatched.
After May 27th, 2016, were you involved in any other assignments related to Amber Heard?
Yes.
Can you tell me about those assignments?
The next one would have been August 6th, 2016, where she was giving a deposition.
So what did you do in relation to that tip?
I dispatched camera people to a parking lot adjacent to a law office in which she would be arriving to, so we could get the footage of her arriving for the deposition.
Do you typically send paparazzis to parking lots of law offices?
No, not at all.
Did you get the shot of Ms. Heard on August 6, 2016?
We did.
After August 6, 2016, were you involved in any other stories involving Ms. Heard?
Yes, I was.
And what story was that?
On the 12th, we received a video depicting Johnny Depp slamming some cabinets that was captured by Ms. Heard.
And what day was that?
I believe that was the August 12th
Of 2016?
of 2016, yes.
Verify.
Can you describe to the jury how you received the video on August 12th, 2016?
Yes, the video was sent in through our email tip line, which is an email distribution that goes to all the producers and to myself as the field assignment manager, because it often included celebrity locations. It came in as I recall,
Objection, hearsay.
He's just describing how it came in.
I think he's about to reveal hearsay, Your Honor.
I'll overrule for now. We'll see where it goes. Okay.
Please continue.
So I received that email, and it included a link from some unknown Dropbox type public website in which it contained that
Objection,
video.
Your Honor, hearsay. He's about to describe what comes from the Dropbox website, and that's...
So far, he's just said was a link from the Dropbox. We'll see the next question. Go ahead, next question.
So you received a link. What was in that link?
In that link was the video of Johnny Depp smashing the cabinets.
And you received this video in your inbox, correct?
I did.
What did you do once you received that video?
We downloaded it. We alerted the web editor who was sitting next to me at the time. We downloaded it, and then were instructed by the news producer to do what we call slap bumpers and a bug on it, which is putting the dun 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 at the beginning end, and then putting a translucent watermark over it, which indicates copyright ownership.
After you did that, was it posted?
It was posted, yes.
Where was it posted?
It was posted to TMZ.com.
Did you do anything else related to Amber Heard on August 12, 2016?
Yes, I received a tip that Amber Heard would be arriving at LAX, and so I dispatched camera people to film that exit, or her arrival to LAX, rather.
And why did you do that?
I was instructed to.
Whoa, that guy's in big trouble. With
How long
TMZ.
does it take to post a story after media's been received by TMZ?
After media's been received, it could take any length of time depending on who owns the copyright.
How does TMZ obtain copyright over images and videos?
The only way to obtain copyright over media would be if we shot it ourselves, if it was sent to the tip line, source verified that it was from the original copyright owner, and then either purchased from that person or given to us. And then the third option would be if it was directly given to us by the copyright holder, like a direct source.
And how long does it take to copyright something TMZ has received through the tip line?
It can take a while because you have to extensively verify that that person owns the copyright. And then possibly, it depends also if you can even get in contact with the person, because they might not be super responsive immediately via phone or email that they provided. And then potentially you'd have to enter a negotiation with our Clips and Clearances Department to figure out the cost of that media.
How long does it take for TMZ to obtain a copyright over something received directly from a source?
Something in the realm of 15 minutes just to do what I described before, which is putting bumpers and a bug on something and write the article and post it. It's pretty fast.
How much time had passed from the time you received the kitchen cabinet video to the time it was posted on TMZ?
About 15 minutes.
Whoa.
Did any other tabloids other than TMZ post this video?
Objection,
No,
leading and calls for hearsay.
Did any other tabloids?
Overrule.
Mr. Tremaine, go ahead.
No, they did not.
And why not?
Because it was a TMZ exclusive.
And what does that mean?
It means the TMZ owns the copyright to it. So it can't be distributed by any other media source without backlinking to TMZ, and they wouldn't be able to upload that media without getting a copyright strike.
Have you seen the kitchen cabinet video that was played in this trial?
I have, yes.
How does that video that was played in this trial compare to the one you received on August 12, 2016?
When I had clicked the direct link that we received and watched the video in its entirety, it was much shorter than the video we had received, than the video that's been played in this trial. There was a bit at the beginning that was played here in which Ms. Heard is seemingly sort of setting up the camera and getting into position. And then there's a bit at the end where she's seemingly snickering and looks at the camera. That part was not present in what we received.
Did TMZ edit the video?
No, not even a little. When we receive something and it's edited, there's a clear indicator because there's sort of a journalistic practice they use is when there's an edit, you do what's called like a white flash transition, which covers the entire screen with white to very clearly indicate to everybody there was an edit here for time or whatever, just to make it a little more compelling. But in this case, it was not edited, as I was staring at the machine that edited it and present for the entirety of receipt to publishing.
When was the next time you worked on an assignment related to Amber Heard?
It was, well, there was the time where we went to the airport. And then the day after that, because she had flown in for the deposition, because I think the first time didn't work out. So she was arriving again for the deposition in that same parking lot adjacent to a law office.
And what's that, August 13th, 2016?
That was August 13th, yeah.
And what was your assignment on August 13th, 2016?
To dispatch camera people to that parking lot at a specific time in order to film Amber Heard arriving for the deposition.
How did you know that tip was legitimate?
It came from a news producer.
While you worked at TMZ, did you ever receive any communications from Mr. Depp or his camp?
I did not.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Cross-examination?
Yes.
Whoa.
So, how do you know what video was shown at this trial?
I was alerted by a friend that that TMZ was being kind of talked about in this trial, and so I had seen a clip of that.
So you watched some of this trial?
Correct.
Okay. When did you first reach out to counsel for Mr. Depp?
I believe that was 6 days ago, whatever that date would be. I'd have to do that.
All right. And then you received a subpoena, I think yesterday, in care of your attorney, Cindy Hickox, right?
Correct.
Okay. And Cindy Hickox represents Christy Dombrowski, Kate James, Robin Baum.
Objection, Your Honor.
Were you aware
Calls
of
for
that?
speculation.
Overruled.
Were you aware of that?
No.
Now, if you don't have information that's helpful to this case, then you wouldn't be a witness, correct?
Objection. Calls for
can't.
speculation.
Sustained. Sustained. Next question.
I'm not aware.
Okay. You know this case is being televised, right?
I am aware that there are cameras.
And so this gets you your 15 minutes of fame, doesn't
Objection, Your Honor. Argumentative.
it? I can ask that question.
Overruled.
So I stand to gain nothing from this. I'm actually putting myself kind of in a target of TMZ, a very litigious organization, and I'm not seeking any 15 minutes here. Though you're welcome to speculate. I could say the same thing by taking Amber Heard as a client for you.
A little argumentative, don't you think?
Oh, hardly. I find that to be purely logical. Thank you.
Now, are you aware that Mr. Depp's attorneys were well aware of the TRO that was going to be presented on May 27th?
Objection. Calls for speculation.
Were you aware of that?
Lack of foundation.
Overruled if you can answer it.
Can you restate the question?
Were you aware that Mr. Depp's divorce attorneys were aware that Amber Heard was going in to seek a TRO on May 27th?
I don't think I understand the question. I don't think so, no.
Okay.
kind of a
Do you
complicated
know whether Blair Burke, one of Mr. Depp's divorce attorneys, had a very close relationship with TMZ at that time?
Objection. Calls for speculation.
Overruled. If he knows.
I was not aware of that.
Okay. And when you said that you were dispatched twice, once to film Amber in a parking lot for the deposition, and then it didn't work out, and so you had to do it another time, how did you know it didn't work out?
Because TMZ.com posted an article saying as much.
Okay.
And I was not dispatched.
Do you know
I worked in the
why the deposition did not work out?
I'd have to reference the article, I forget.
So do you know...
I didn't write that story. I wasn't involved in the actual
Do you know
journalism of that.
which side? Do you know which side would have known or not known whether that deposition was going to work out? In other words, the people representing Mr. Depp or the people representing Ms. Heard?
I wouldn't know.
Okay. And then the video clip, you don't know who provided that, correct?
Correct. Not testifying to
I have
that.
no further.
All right, redirect.
Mr. Tremaine, why did you contact me in relation to this case?
I saw that there was a discrepancy with like the video that was shown here and the video that I know I'd received. So I had no interest in testifying. I had reached out simply to maybe try to help with the timeline of things or help with the case in any way, just by virtue of understanding the timeline of the stories that were published and kind of how that can be unclear. But I had no idea I'd be on the stand.
Okay, nothing further. Thank you.
All right, sir, you're free to go.
Thank
Thank you. All right.
Whoa. So
You
they
have
didn't really
another
say
witness?
if
Okay.
Amber actually gave the.
Mr. Depp calls Brian Newmeister, Your Honor.
All right, Brian Newmeister.
So he didn't really say if Amber Heard gave the video. So I'm sure TMZ is gonna dissect his testimony and see if they could sue him, because they went that far to bring their lawyers. But anyway. Okay, because he was no longer there. And another thing too, hopefully I found it. There is one of those lawyers who dissect his testimony with Vasquez. How Vasquez, certain question Vasquez asked him to prevent him from disclose his DNA. How do you call this? NDA, not DNA. NDA, you know, whatever he signed with TMZ, not to say it in public or whatever, non-disclosed thing, secrets of TMZ. I remember after I listened to his testimony, I was like, whatever he said, I could just go online and find it myself. Okay? And then when I come across that lawyer who dissect his testimony between him and Vasquez, and it made me realize he put it in the lawyer perspective term that it was one of the brilliant cross-examination between him and Vasquez, while Vasquez was protecting him. Okay, the question that Vasquez asked him, Vasquez was protecting him so he doesn't get sued with TMZ. I'm not even gonna do a review of that particular lawyer. All I'll do is put the link of that video. Go watch it yourself. And when I came across it, I was like, oh my God. After I listened to him during the cross-examination, I think that's what they call, when Vasquez was asking him question, I was like, you know, the first thing that popped up in my mind, I was like, all of these things he's saying, I could easily go on online on TMZ website and check it myself. I didn't see anything that was, you know, that could put him in jeopardy. And then when I heard that lawyer dissecting the thing, and it made me realize this is what Vasquez was doing. Okay, this is the beauty of those professionals on YouTube. Okay, I'll put the link. I'll look for it and put the link in the description for you guys to check it out. So that was good. And that lawyer said it was the brilliance of a good lawyer, how great Vasquez was, and that. Many of us, for me, it was when Vasquez was asking Amber Heard question, both time, okay? Both time, because she destroyed Amber Heard. But that lawyer said this one was the brilliant one, because even though they need the information from him to secure Johnny Depp, I guess, you know, to put a check mark on Johnny Depp column, a W for Johnny Depp column. And then the lawyer explained it and dissected and said, look, this was the best cross-examination he has ever seen, because Vasquez asked certain question and left enough information for the jurors to fill in the blank. Okay? Without him saying it himself on the stand and incriminate him to be sued by TMZ. That's how great that was. Okay, like I said, I'll put the link of that video in the description for you. I'm not even gonna do a review. It is worth for you to watch it and make him get that view. And that was brilliant. Alright, so there's Kate Moss again. So that's it. Please take a moment to subscribe, like, and share. If you want to support this channel, there's a PayPal link in the description. I will not, on my other channel is for my members. This is a backup channel for my other channel. So if you want to support this channel, just the PayPal link in the description, or just watch the commercials. That's it. Thank you for watching.